Cyclone Narelle expected to reach Category 5 status on the Australian scale. Tropical Weather Bulletin for March 19th. Well, around the world right now, the tropics are generally quiet, apart from the obvious, of course, which is a high-end code orange here on our TICO scale for Cyclone Narelle, which is expected to impact Queensland in the next 24 to 36 hours, and now expected to reach Category 5 status on the Australian scale, and also flirting with Category 4 status on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. Looking at the Atlantic, it's 74 days until hurricane season begins, so we're thankful that not much is going on there right now. As you can see, a big long frontal system extending from Cuba out towards Nova Scotia and Newfoundland and out over the North Atlantic. In the Eastern Pacific, not too much going on there either, certainly nothing in the tropics, but a front producing significant rainfall in the Pacific Northwest once again today. A little bit of a few scraggly clouds there over towards Hawaii with 58 days until hurricane season. In the Western Pacific, we've got no areas of interest here either. A deep low pressure system just off the Kamchatka Peninsula up there, and probably a little bit of weather in eastern Japan as well today. But elsewhere, a pretty quiet region, especially in the tropics. The North Indian Ocean, a few little thunderstorms here and there, western India, and one or two spots in the east as well, but over sea areas there's very little going on at all. There's the odd thunderstorm over northern Sri Lanka there as well, but really a really quiet basin. And in the southern southwestern Indian Ocean, I should say, there's very little going on here right now as well, even though it was much busier last month than the month before. Of course, the activity is once again round about Australia and certainly off the eastern coast into the South Pacific, which is now what we're checking out. Cyclone Narelle, a cyclone warning from Lockhart River to Cape Tribulation, Queensland, a Category 3 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and we're giving a 20% chance for another system behind it there, which might be moving on towards New Caledonia later on in this week or next week. Let's take a look at Narelle then. It is once again looking very good at this point, and the eye really starting to appear much more clearly. 120 mile per hour winds is what we're currently giving it, and a pressure of 947 millibars. Cyclone watches on the western part of the peninsula as well. 279 kilometers from Lizard Island off the coast of Queensland, 345 from Cooktown, 426 from Cairns, 501 from Coen, and 656 from Weipa on the western side of the Cape York Peninsula into the Gulf of Carpentaria. Checking out the forecast from the Bureau of Meteorology, this is the Australian scale, remember, Category 4 going on Category 5 according to them, and we expect it will reach Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale briefly before landfall, and there you can see the landfall location will be just northeast of Coen, moving inland, and maybe a slight northward trajectory there for a brief period over land before moving back out over the Gulf of Carpentaria. Model spread is pretty good, quite a tight-knit agreement there as it moves westwards. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you're always in touch with the latest tropical cyclone updates, as well as following us on social media, and you can also join our Discord server for tropical weather chat at any time on discord.gg/force13. So checking in on satellite imagery of Cyclone Narelle right now. A wide shot first of all, geocolour imagery showing the storm in relation to the Australian coastline. It is growing in size, I would say, definitely, particularly in terms of its wind field. We just saw that wind field graphic earlier saying 190 nautical mile tropical storm force winds on the southern side. So certainly increasing in its spread and increasing in its visual appearance as well, the quality of it that is. The eye is starting to drop a little bit further in there and appear much more clearly on this satellite imagery. I'm privy to the latest frames, which we don't quite have on these images, and I can tell you that the eye is continuing to open out in the latest frames, so I would fully expect at this point that we'll be seeing this storm reach Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale shortly. Cloud tops around the eye, of course, extremely high as well, up into the minus 90s at points there, and large amounts, pretty much the entire eye wall there in the minus 80s, and extending outwards a little bit as well. Really impressive, but cloud tops tend to be high in that area. Here's a look at the US East Coast right now, and a big frontal system just off the coast of southern Florida, just about clearing Florida now, but out over the Atlantic Ocean. Elsewhere, not too much going on in the basin, the Caribbean region, pretty quiet. A few little small-scale weather developments there. The Eastern Pacific is even quieter. The intertropical convergence zone is dead out there in the very far eastern East Pacific. You can see the sun glint there, a depiction of how calm those waters are underneath all of that area. Western Pacific, you can see that big non-tropical low up there towards the northeast, well to the northeast of Japan. Quite a lot of cloud extending from central China through Japan there. And in the North Indian Ocean, a few thunderstorms been blowing up here and there over large parts of India, and a few areas from the west as well, but in general a quiet picture. And in the Southwest Indian Ocean, you had a wannabe tropical cyclone there. Rotation was pretty good, it was far inland, but didn't quite get anywhere towards the coast or a chance of becoming a tropical cyclone. Very wide shot as we look at the Australian region. You can make out the outline of Australia there and an idea of how small Narelle looks when you look at it this far out, but I can assure you it is moderately sized when we look at tropical cyclones. That down there near New Zealand, that was 97P, that system that was near Tonga. That's now an extratropical low, probably producing some strong winds even there and some heavy rainfall. And look towards the South Atlantic, one or two little hints of a system that's going to be trying to form over the next couple of days, but I would fully expect it will remain frontal. And in the Mediterranean region, if you missed it, there was a subtropical storm the other day and yesterday. You can just about see what's left of it there moving through eastern Libya, and just about its remnants made it into Egypt. And would you look at this, a very interesting feature off the coast of Alaska. Now you've got to blink twice to try and figure this one out, that it's not a subtropical or tropical cyclone. I should think not, because the sea surface temperatures in this area are less than 5 degrees Celsius. However, a very interesting feature to look at nonetheless there, as it spirals slowly towards the coast of Alaska, not too far from Anchorage as well there to its northwest. Sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic Ocean are starting to pick up already ahead of the hurricane season, which is still a way off at this point. The Caribbean Sea looking nice, warm and toasty, 28 degrees in a few spots there. And in the Eastern Pacific, 28 degrees in a much wider area off the coast of Mexico down towards the Galapagos Islands. Signs of an El Nino on the way. We're all expecting it. Will it arrive? Well, the question really is when. Western Pacific there, temperatures also looking very good in the Philippine Sea, 28 degrees plus, 26 hovering around the northern tip of the Philippines, and just a slither up towards the southern tip of Taiwan. Temperatures still got a lot of recovering to do off the coast of China. The Australian region, temperatures obviously very warm here, 28 to 29, maybe even pushing 30 degrees Celsius just before Cyclone Narelle makes landfall in the far northern part of Queensland. Gulf of Carpentaria, also temperatures close to that too. Ironically, off the northern part of Australia, the coastal regions there, a lot of areas are below average. But where Narelle is, it is slightly above 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above average for the storm until it reaches the Gulf of Carpentaria. Western Pacific is half and half. Eastern Pacific is starting to get a little bit more on the warm side, and the North Atlantic very much on the warm side, particularly in the subtropical zones there, up to 3 degrees. Oceanic heat content also looking relatively in the Western Pacific's favour, and indeed one or two little yellow patches there in the Eastern Pacific already. I would say that is pretty early to be seeing those kinds of colours over there, so certainly looking interesting for the Eastern Pacific's potential later on. Down towards where Cyclone Narelle is in the Coral Sea, moderate amounts of oceanic heat content there, which may push it along a little bit better. Certainly with all of those cloud tops blowing up, there's a lot of energy definitely apparent underneath the storm. Let's take a look at the computer models then. This is the GFS short range up to day 5. The storm moving inland there over the northern Cape York Peninsula, out over the Gulf of Carpentaria, pretty much what the Bureau of Meteorology has on the forecast. Intensity wise, obviously the GFS will be lowballing this a little bit. We're expecting probably a high-end Category 3 landfall, maybe even a Category 4 if it holds on well. Probably weakened to a tropical storm, or maybe Category 1 into the Gulf of Carpentaria. This is Saffir-Simpson scale, by the way. Over the top end of Australia, Northern Territory, and out towards Western Australia off the coast. Look further east as Narelle is doing all of that. Another system trying to form from very high up near the equator. moving through the southeastern Solomon Islands and quickly becoming a hurricane equivalent storm there as it moves close to New Caledonia off towards the south. A closer look at this one. In the next 5 days, this is 20% chance, however, because other models aren't really picking up on this one just yet, but a 20% chance nonetheless. There it is, hurricane equivalent, and down it shifts beyond everywhere pretty much. Looking at precipitation charts for the next 7 days here, you can see the rainfall really totaling up on a very narrow strip of the track of Cyclone Narelle there, where rainfall amounts will be reaching at least 400 millimeters in a few spots, possibly 500 millimeters, especially along the coast. Look out towards Western Australia as well, or that kind of region there in the Northern Territory. 10 to 11 inches, that's over 250 millimeters projected from the storm. Further south over the populated areas of Cairns and other areas like that, Cooktown, may be getting up to 200 millimeters of rainfall from this point forth. Looking towards the longer range, what does Narelle do next? Well, it re-intensifies and balloons in size as it moves out over the Indian Ocean off the coast of Western Australia. A major equivalent period there, again there, so that could be another strong peak. And look what else happens behind it, yet another system actually forming there, just on the northern tip of the Cape York Peninsula. Can't decide which side to fall on, but eventually swivels off towards the west and reaches hurricane equivalent status before reaching the top end of Australia. Once again, this is getting into longer range. Massive system blowing up there, moving on towards New Zealand. That was the storm that was passing New Caledonia in the short range, and it does indeed reach New Zealand with storm force winds. That would be a massive gale for the whole country, although not quite hurricane force at least. That's the medium range up to day 10. Check out our store page for Force 13 related merch, as well as our full season and individual storm animations on request by you. Also, if you like our work, please check out our YouTube memberships. Check the join page on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/force13/join. Well, looking into the fantasy range, that's day 11 to 16. You can see what happens to these two storms. Well, the second one beat us out a fair bit, although it's still trying to survive. There it is again, reaching storm. Yep, there it is, strengthening again. It's a real patch there in that part of the Indian Ocean this year, where storms just really like to give it a go. As for Narelle, massive Narelle there by that point. This is a little bit of a better forecast than what it was saying yesterday in this very long range period, moving away from the Perth area where it had it well under storm force winds, and lots of them in yesterday's update. And also in the very long range, just something interesting to look at. It probably won't happen, but this is the Central Pacific, just about over the international dateline into the Central Pacific. That is a brief tropical storm by the looks of things. Tries to get itself going, loses itself quite quickly. We're into the first days of April now on this forecast, so it's a very long way out. Won't be of any threat to Hawaii, but something to look for. And possibly, who knows, we might indeed get an early system over there. Well, let's take a look at what happened on this day. It was March 19th, 2006, where we had a relatively similar storm. It was Cyclone Larry. That was a little bit further south in Queensland, making landfall today as a Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, Category 5 on the Australian scale. Very powerful storm, and it looked the part as well on that image. Cyclone Warnings was also active at this point into the South Pacific. It is almost a mirror image of what we might get with these two storms that are on the radar right now, Narelle and that system that could form in the Coral Sea this weekend or early next week. Well, back to today, 22 storms to this year's name so far. It's that naming list again in the Atlantic, I'm afraid. The first name is Arthur. In the Eastern Pacific, it's Amanda. And in the Central Pacific, the next name is Lala. In the West Pacific, the next name now is Sinlaku. In the North Indian Ocean, it will be Arnab. Well, code orange for Cyclone Narelle. It is a dangerous storm. Populations could be higher in this area. but it is certainly a major threat. Category 3 going on 4 by the looks of things. The next name is Oran. In the Southwest Indian Ocean it's Indusa, and in the South Pacific it's Vayanu. We'll be back again tomorrow night.